Hi, I'm Stephanie Mitchell, CEO and founder of Stephanie Mitchell Media. I do graphic design, and today I have with me a very special guest. Her name is Lynda Masco. She is a nurse at Allison Wellness Clinic. So, Lynda, would you like to just tell us a little bit more about yourself and just really what led you down the path of becoming a nurse?
My name is Lynda Masco, like Stephanie said, and I'm a nurse practitioner. I have been a nurse for 24 years, and I have been a nurse practitioner now for 2 years. I've been at Allison Wellness Clinic for 8 months this week, so I'm very excited about my time there. And I work specifically in weight loss and specialize in treating patients who are 30 or more pounds overweight and helping them in their weight loss journey.
Well, that's great. So you have the mission of helping people that, like you mentioned, are at least 30 pounds overweight. So what are some of the health issues that can arise because of extra weight, just outside of, excuse me, just maybe wanting to look different or just shed some pounds to fit into an outfit? What is
Right.
some, because I know I've spoke with you in the past about what are some medical reasons for losing weight?
Right. So people come to me for different reasons. Many people do come to me because they just want to look better in an outfit or because they have a goal to lose certain amount of weight. But many people, it is because they want to be healthier. And some of those people have high cholesterol because of their weight. They have diabetes or pre-diabetes. And they may have sleep apnea where they snore at night or have difficulty breathing, actually stop breathing during the night because of their weight. Extra weight around the neck, when you see people who have large necks, typically they
Mhm.
have sleep apnea, and that actually stops them from breathing during the night. People who have knee pain, ankle pain, hip pain, back pain. A lot of this is because they're carrying extra weight. For each pound you are overweight, you're actually putting 30 pounds of extra pressure on your joints. And you're
Mhm.
carrying that around, and that's a big burden for your joints to be carrying that around. And so a lot of people have pain issues because of extra weight that they're carrying. Um, Many people have depression because of weight. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because they get treated for their depression, and the depression medications may make them gain extra weight. Um,
Mhm.
so we need to be very careful about the medications that we're giving people to treat depression, and make sure that they're not gaining extra weight with these medications, because there are medications that we can give for depression that don't make people gain weight. We just need to be
Mhm.
very careful. So those are some of the diseases. Some people have thyroid disease that can make them gain weight. Um, there are many diseases, but those are the primary diseases that bring people to come to see me, and they want to change their life and be healthier.
Okay, yeah. So you mentioned a lot of really serious medical conditions,
Mhm.
sleep apnea, where you stop breathing during the night, and just all of these different things. Do Is that typically a pretty good motivator for people, or does it take kind of probably just depends, but I wonder if maybe a life-altering event like maybe their life is at risk, that brings them to see you, and what does that look like? Does their stress level allow them, motivate them or kind of make it more difficult?
It's interesting. Everyone's different. Some people, just having their labs done is enough of a motivation to say, "Ooh, I'm pre-diabetic. This is pretty scary. I've got to do something about this." Or, "Ooh, I have high cholesterol. I've got to do something about this." Um,
Mhm.
some people finding out that their spouse is telling them that they're snoring at night, or that they hear them not stop breathing at night, is enough to motivate them to come in and say, I need to change. I had one patient that I saw in November and told her that she was pre-diabetic and that she had high cholesterol and she needed to change her life, and I could help her do that. She was definitely had obesity and needed to change her lifestyle. It wasn't until her sister-in-law ended up in the hospital, in the ICU, had to start dialysis, had kidney disease, and was very close to death, that she said, okay, I'm ready to make the change. I need to change my lifestyle. So it's different motivators for different people. Everybody's different. Luckily, this person did come back to me and she is changing her lifestyle, and we've got her on a program and she's having success. So, you know, everybody's different. Everybody has their own threshold.
That's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, just seeing, I can relate to seeing family members being very sick and thinking to myself that that could be me if I don't make some changes.
Yeah.
You mentioned lifestyle. So I think we all want a quick fix, right? Typically, we all want something to happen fast, but maybe like the diets that promise to lose 10 pounds in 5 days, or you know, something like that. Probably not safe,
Yes.
but I think so could you walk me through maybe how you help people to build a new lifestyle, and how difficult it to change? I mean, lifestyle is kind of a popular term, but what does that mean and what does that look like?
Well, actually, I don't, I talk about lifestyle changes. I don't talk about diets. Diets, people think of as a temporary thing. Um, they think of as, I'm going to change the way I eat for 6 months and I'm going to lose the weight and then I'm going to go back to eating the way I want to eat. And that's just not the way it works. You've got to make changes for a lifetime. And I talk about nutrition. So nutrition is the way we feed our body, and you need to feed your body what it needs. And it's the fuel that we give our body, um, is how we need to think about, is how we need to think about food. It's the fuel that we give our body to sustain life, not what we give, not the pleasure that we get from food, not eating potato chips or chocolate cake or whatever. Those are
Mhm.
pleasures, but it's not fueling our body. So those are things that we eat in small quantities at special events, not things we eat on a daily basis. So, so we help people to see food as fuel, and as nutrition, and not as something that we celebrate with, or eat on an emotional basis. And a lot of people are emotional eaters. Um, and we help to, I use actually 4 pillars to treat patients. So we use nutrition, we use movement, we use behavior, and we use medication as needed. So behavior is the biggest thing. And behavior, part of behavior is talking about nutrition as food as fuel, and as healing the body instead of feeding it things that it doesn't need. So behavior is wrapping your mind around giving your body healthy sustenance, and not just giving it what we want to eat when we want to eat it. And um, so it's not just a diet. It's not just a temporary fix. It's a lifestyle. It's a long-term eating plan. So a lot of the plans that I recommend are a short-term weight loss program where you do eat in a different manner for a period of time while you're losing weight. But then we
Mhm.
transition you into a period where you learn how to incorporate real foods, where you're counting your macros, your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins, so that you can eat like like you would think a normal person would eat, um,
Mhm.
and incorporate real foods into your diet, and learn how to eat normal foods, and sustain those foods in your life for a long period of time for the rest of your life, so that you can learn to maintain weight eating real foods, and not depending on shakes and bars and soups and those kinds of things that you may have eaten during a weight loss phase. So you're temporarily eating different foods, but you're learning how to incorporate real foods into your life for a long-term period so that you can eat for a lifetime. You also learn during that period how to incorporate into your life birthdays and holidays and celebrations that you're going to invariably encounter in your life, um,
Mhm.
because we as an American culture celebrate with food. We were raised
Mhm.
to celebrate with food. So we're going to have those times in our life when cake is used as a celebration, where we may have wine or we may have, whatever as a celebration. And we need to learn how to incorporate those into a healthy lifestyle and not just say, oh, I ate cake, so now I'm going to eat whatever I want for the next 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
we teach people at Allison Wellness Clinic how to incorporate those things into a healthy lifestyle, and not go off the rails. So it's all about moderation. It's all about, I have one patient who eats whatever she wants. She's in the weight loss phase and she's losing weight. She's doing a great job. She eats whatever she wants to eat. She has dessert. She has wine. This is not what I would recommend as a weight loss, but she's doing great. She eats in moderation. She eats small portions of everything and she's doing great. And so it works for her. So, I customize plans to work with each individual person. And as long as it's fueling her body and she's able to maintain weight loss and live her life in a way that works for her, that's what works. And so it has to fit into each individual person's lifestyle. It has to sustain, the fuel that your body needs to sustain life. And it needs to be nutritious. So those are my criteria for a diet. But I like to consider it a lifestyle, a nutrition plan.
That's really interesting and so fascinating to me. I think back to a nutrition class that I took in college.
Mhm.
Prior to that, I had learned, like the food pyramid is what was used at the time. I don't know if that's very popular or in use anymore.
Yeah,
Is that still a thing?
they've changed the food pyramid. It's actually still a pyramid, but they've changed it into slices instead of into the hierarchy.
Okay. Are the hierarchies any different? Because I remember seeing like it seemed like a lot of bread and grains were very important at the time of, or I don't know if I
Yeah, it was
remember that.
at the base, and now they've kind of made it a
Hmm.
slice of the triangle, so
Okay.
that everything is more balanced. Instead of having grains as the foundation, it's a slice of the triangle. So grains is still an important piece of nutrition, but it's
Hmm.
just as important as your proteins and your vegetables. And they're even saying that a slice of healthy fats is important as well.
Yeah, because I think that's newer research maybe than when I
Yes.
first saw that, because at first it was low fat, no fat, everything.
Yes.
Um, I grew up with skim milk and just all of those kinds of food products were very popular. Um, but you mentioned balance and I think in moderation.
Mhm.
Is it harder to maintain balance instead of adhering to an extreme? Because that's what I've found in other areas of life. I wonder how that applies to food.
Extreme is so challenging. I had a person stop me yesterday and I introduced myself as a weight loss nurse practitioner. And she said, I just can't maintain these very low calorie diets. And I'm like, you're not meant to. They're not sustainable. They're for very
Mhm.
short periods of time and they're just not sustainable. Um, Extremes are difficult to maintain and moderation is a lifelong plan. um, you need to have a balance of each of the categories of foods. Grains are not evil. I think we live in a society now where people think that carbohydrates are evil. They are
Yeah.
not. Simple carbohydrates, sugars, need to be eliminated from the diet or minimized in the diet.
Mhm.
But even sugar itself is not evil. People are afraid of fruits. Fruits are not evil. People are afraid
Mhm.
of them because they're high in sugar. Well, there's good
Yep.
sugar in fruits. It's okay to have fruit. It's okay to have vegetables that have sugar in them, but in moderation. Like you said, moderation is the key. So balance is the key. So we should not be afraid of carbohydrates. They are necessary in our diet. We need to have balance in everything that we eat. So, so having whole grains is necessary. Having meats and fishes are necessary. Having healthy fats are necessary. Having lots of fruits and vegetables are necessary. We want to have a wide range of colors in our diet. If we've got too many browns, that's a bad thing.
Mhm.
That's, you know, we don't want too many browns. That's a lot of carbohydrates. That's not a good thing. When I was growing up, you said when you were growing up, I'm a lot older than you. When I was growing up, low fat was definitely a thing, but we thought that carbohydrates weren't evil. We ate a lot of
Mhm.
carbohydrates because they were low fat. Um, but little did we know that they were full of sugar and we were actually fighting against ourselves. You need to have lots of protein and lots of vegetables, but lots of fruits as well. They've got lots of vitamins in them that are healthy for us. And whole grains are not evil. They're very good for us.
Yeah, I that's very interesting too, and, just hearing. So, would you say that I don't know, I don't wanna go too deeply into all the different kind of diets that are available to people. I know some people eat vegan, they're vegetarian.
Mhm.
Are those kinds of things, obviously, those are choices that are made. Are there enough nutrients in other types of food to replace, I know, I think there's vitamin B12 in certain types of meat and things like that. Is that sustainable, or do you just kind of it's individualized, you work with a person's preferences?
I think it's individualized. You really need to make sure that each person is getting an appropriate amount of vitamins and nutrients in their diet. And it's very possible to eat a vegan or a vegetarian diet and get all the nutrients that you need.
Mhm.
But you have to be very purposeful. You
Yeah.
have to eat a variety of colors and nutrients, and make sure that you're getting a good balanced diet. But it is possible to eat a nutritious diet and eat a vegan or a vegetarian lifestyle.
Okay. I've just always wondered that because I usually hear controversial takes on that, but I think it's not, as maybe polarizing I guess, some people, they're like on one side of the fence or the other, and they think this is better. But I think, um, is it accurate to say that just paying attention to how an individual body feels when it eats certain types of food, that's is that a good indicator, or does the body kind of need to heal first to really know what's good for someone's body? Does that make
I
sense?
think each individual body will give messages to know what's best for itself. I think it's very possible to eat an individualized health diet that is nutritious and balanced that may exclude certain things. That being said, we are omnivores and we were meant to eat. Our bodies are created to eat meats and fishes and dairy and grains and vegetables and fruits. We were meant to eat a wide spectrum of foods.
Mhm.
Eliminating any of those foods is not how we were created to uh, be nutritionally nourished.
Mhm.
But that's not to say that it's impossible to nourish our bodies without a certain category of food.
That's an important distinction. I appreciate you pointing that out. I want to kind of tie back into something that you mentioned earlier.
Mhm.
If somebody's having, emotional eating issues, that's something that I have struggled with. I know
Mhm.
my grandmother struggled with that as well. Excuse me. Those things, if someone is having issues like that, do those emotional issues need to be addressed separately first, or is that something that I guess what I mean to say is maybe some mental health professionals need to be involved, or how to is and also is that a long-term thing, or just a lifelong kind of retraining your brain to not comfort yourself just by eating?
That is one method that we can use to treat emotional eating. There are actually medications that we can give that help to signal the parts of the brain that work on emotional eating to
Hmm.
shut that off and help to they work on the emotional centers of the brain. Um, and so it's not just a behavior modification, it's actually a chemical imbalance. So there are weight loss drugs that are used specifically for treating that emotional eating center of the brain that we can use that will help with weight loss. So, so there are great medications that we can use that will help with that as well. So that being said, I think a combined effort with behavioral therapy as well as medication therapy is a great solution.
Okay. So you're saying that an emotional eating issue it does it always stem from chemical imbalance of some sort? So
Yes.
is it often genetic, or is that something just oh, okay.
Yep.
That's good to know. I was curious about that.
Yes.
So you use the word movement as one of that's one of the pillars
Mhm.
that's different than the word exercise. Is there a reason for that distinction? I know the word exercise scares, frightens, and repels a lot of people. So
That's exactly why I use movement. And for some people who have obesity, um, because I treat people who are both overweight and have obesity, for people especially with obesity, movement is a lot more palatable. Exercise is intimidating and maybe not possible. I have patients that, because of their weight combined with medical conditions, they can't do anything other than just move. If I would ask them to
Mhm.
exercise, they would laugh at me or cry. I'm not sure which, but
Yeah.
you know, it's just not possible to do anything more than move. And really, all I ask is that you move. My biggest form of movement is I ask that you walk. Um, so just parking farther away, walking into the grocery store instead of ordering your groceries online. Um, Sit farther up front at church so that you have not just sitting in the back and walking in the back door and sitting in the back. Um, you know, walking to the mailbox instead of sending your spouse or your children. Um, Walking around the building at work, wherever you may work. Just any way to get extra steps in your day, is really what I ask. And again, we tailor that to each individual person. So we try to find ways that we can add movement to the day that fit into each individual person's life. Um, but you know, and I have some people who do Pilates 5 days a week and then go walk 3 miles in the evening. You know, I mean, each
Mhm.
person is individualized. So it depends on what they can do. Some people I ask, will you just walk for me five minutes a day at work? You know, it really depends on what the ability level is, and what their baseline is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you mentioned obesity. So I know in America, and especially in the South, um, it's a serious problem because of the health issues that can come from that. I think it's a little scary to talk about or mention because it's a sensitive it's a sensitive issue, right? Someone's weight, that's pretty much one of the most sensitive things that you can be
Yes.
talking about. So, I would imagine you maintain kind of a sense of positivity or just
Oh yeah.
honestly lay out the facts
Mhm.
and not make it about appearance as much. Does that or um
Obesity is actually a chronic disease. It's the same as having high blood pressure or having diabetes or having heart disease. It is a chronic disease and it's finally being recognized as such. It is not a character judgment, it is not a character flaw. It is not because someone is lazy or has done something wrong. It is a chronic disease. So it is something that somebody has, it is not something that they are. So once I explain to somebody that this is something that you have and it's not something that you did, that seems to make a big difference. Um, and I treat people the same, whether they're 400 or 500 pounds, or whether they're 125 pounds. You know, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter to me. What matters to me is let's get you healthy. And some people have a goal of being 350 pounds, and some people have a goal of being 150 pounds. It just depends. It depends on each individual. So, obesity is a very derogatory term in our society, but we need to get over that because it's a disease. It needs to be treated as such. It needs to be like diabetes. Someone has diabetes. Someone has obesity. It's a genetic condition. And unfortunately, our genes fight against us. And every time we lose weight, our body is programmed to make us gain it back. And
Um,
and there are medications to treat it. And that's why I treat people with medications, because your body is just going to gain it back if we don't treat with medications. And medications aren't short term. Medications are lifelong, just like they are for high blood pressure and just like they are for diabetes. And we need to stop
mhm.
stigmatizing people who use medications. And we need to stop,
Yes.
Yeah, it's not, it's, again, it's not a character flaw. It's not a judgment issue. It's a disease. And so we need to treat people like they have a disease, because they do.
It's so refreshing to hear you talk about that because I have experienced personally. I don't tell everyone about um, medications that I take or different things like that because I don't want to be judged, even though I know I'm making a healthy choice for myself and it's better for me that way. I don't want someone to say, well, I want to tell you about all the scary things that happen to people that take medications and you don't want to die young. And I think um, that's really stating opinions like that to someone is just really out of place and shouldn't be a part of normal conversation.
If I
Um,
can help someone lose weight with medication, I can add 20 years to their life potentially,
mhm.
and it's quality of life. It's not just living, it's quality of life. They can play with their grandchildren. They can play with their kids even, they can see their kids walk across the stage at graduation. They can see their kids get married. They can see grandchildren. They can, you know, it's, and this is why I do it, because I want people to be healthy and to have a higher quality of life. And they don't have to live with obesity. There's options. And we don't talk about it because a so much of the medical establishment doesn't know about it because they're not taught in medical school. And B,
uh,
because our society has such a stigma that we can't see past our own noses to actually talk about it and be open about it and actually seek treatment.
what is your opinion on where did that stigma come from, or is it just have been building over a long time? Is that something that's just in America? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure. I haven't traveled the world enough to know if it's just a stigma in America, but I know enough to know that in other countries they they see us as lazy Americans,
Mhm.
um, and 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 I can't help but think that our obesity problem feeds that. And if we could get care for obesity and treat people with obesity, that we could change that stigma. But we need to heal the thought that people who are fat are lazy, because they're not. They're working harder than any of us because they're
Mhm.
trying every day to lose weight, and
Mhm.
they're just fighting against their own bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one because I heard a lot of things when I was younger, comments would be made about people's appearance and, "Oh, they must be lazy or they eat so much junk food," or all these assumptions. Um, and as I've gotten older and I've been treating different medical issues that I've had, and I've taken different medications that I had to take, but some of them cause weight gain. And, there's just all these things that people don't see that. They don't know about those things. All they see is what they see.
That's right.
And that's really hard to receive.
And you don't want to wear a sign that says, I take medication that makes me this way. But
No.
don't you wish you could tell people, this isn't me, this is the medication?
Yeah, I do wish that sometimes.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and that's very real. There are a lot of medications that make people gain weight, and they need to take them in order to have a better quality of life, or in order to be healthy, or in order to move, and be able to walk because they have arthritis, or whatever, you know, and they can't help the fact that it makes them gain 50 pounds. but people judge them because they don't know that they're on those medications.
Yeah.
And their doctors don't know enough that there are other medications that they can give them that will make them gain less weight or will make them not gain any weight. Or that there are medications that they can give them that will counteract those actions.
Do you know if obesity is a prevalent problem just in the US and if it doesn't exist that much in other countries? I know that's been my perception, but I don't know if that's accurate. I've traveled to Italy and Poland, and it seems that in those places, well, for one thing, the lifestyle is much more relaxed and people aren't so rushed. Mealtime is actually takes hours, but people are just relaxed and having fun, and there's not a lot of pressure. How much does stress contribute to weight gain? And do you think other cultures have something right?
Well, for one thing, I think other cultures walk a lot more than our culture does. There's a
Mhm.
lot more movement in other cultures. When I've been to Europe, people walk where they go.
Yeah.
And when I went to New Zealand, it was the same. So I've only been to Greece and Italy, and to New Zealand and Costa Rica. But in those countries where I've been, um, there's a lot more movement in built into their day. And to answer your question about stress, there is a lot less stress in those countries, I believe. They do a lot better job of relaxation, of taking time for themselves. Like you said, mealtime is a lot less stressed. Um, and their work focus isn't as great as it is in America. And I think that makes a huge difference. Cortisol levels go up when you are stressed, and cortisol is one of the main hormones in weight gain. So, yes, stress increases weight. So, you are very correct. You are on the right path. I think that the American stress lifestyle adds to the obesity problem that we have in this country. And if we would relax, spend some time, spend more time, less time in our cars and more time on foot, and
Mhm.
and we don't even have the infrastructure for it. Um,
No.
our cities aren't built to walk around. Our cities are built to drive. Um, and if we would spend time in meditation or prayer or whatever it is that you do to de-stress during the day, if our work days weren't as hectic, I think that would go a long way. But that's changing the whole culture, and I don't see myself making that change to the whole culture.
Yeah, because there's a few of those things you mentioned that are in our control, but let's say that we work for a company and it's a 40-hour work week or 60-hour work week, and we just can't really do anything about that
Right,
because we have to put food on the table, we have to have a house, running water, and
right.
gas to put in our car to get to our job.
Yeah.
So
To drive around because
yeah.
we don't have a walking society.
Exactly. So yeah, it would have to be totally different. So um well that's yeah, those are some good thoughts though. Do you spend a lot of time teaching people how to reduce stress in their lives, or do you think that's a skill they already know how to do it?
No, I think we are very bad at that as Americans. I think we're terrible at it, as a matter of fact. So every appointment that I have, every follow-up visit, we talk about stress reduction. We talk about what people are doing for self-care. What are they doing to take care of themselves? What are they doing to spend time with their families? What are they doing to de-stress? And a lot of people say that just adding movement to their day is helping them de-stress, which is great because it is a double-edged sword. It helps with burning calories. It helps with toning muscle, which helps to burn calories. but it also helps with de-stressing. It helps to lower those cortisol levels. So it's really great. It's a great beneficial tool. But we talk about behavior every single visit. So it's always a focus.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are some really interesting things that you talked about. All these hard topics surrounding weight loss, weight gain, the things that you see every day. It's hard to talk about, but it's like you said, I think just having this conversation and normalizing just talking about these things, just their medical issues,
Mhm.
and I think it's kind of like mental health issues are also
Yes,
medical issues,
yes,
mental
they are.
illness.
Yeah.
So they need to be treated as such and not I think there's just so much shame that's given to people that are in those situations, and it
Yes.
really needs to be that needs to stop. So
It really does. It is very much like mental health issues, because people have experienced discrimination and shame. And unfortunately, mental health medications are probably the biggest drivers of medications that add to obesity. And
mhm.
so, like I said, a lot of people who have depression and anxiety are taking medications that are making the problem worse. So they already have depression and anxiety, and then they're taking medications that are making their obesity worse. And so they're already feeling bad about themselves, and then they're feeling bad about themselves because they look awful. And they
Yep.
don't look awful. I don't mean to, they feel like they look
Right.
awful.
They feel like, yeah.
Their self-esteem is lowered because they feel uncomfortable in their skin. And
Yeah.
one thing we didn't talk about is also women who are going through hormonal changes.
You
Um,
wanna speak on that for a little bit?
we can talk about it briefly. Yeah.
Sure.
As women age, and it's a different time for different women, anywhere between their 40s and their mid to late 50s, they go through hormonal changes, and they're already feeling bad about themselves because they're going through these changes, and they're having differences in their feelings and their emotions, and their bodies are changing, and I don't want to say that they're mourning their loss of um, sexuality, but in a way they are, because they're losing their virility, they're losing their sexual desire, they're losing their sexual appearance, and then they start gaining weight to go with it. And they really start feeling bad about themselves, and it's a huge issue for many women. And their hormones are imbalanced, and so they're feeling disconnected, and their emotions are out of whack, and they just so many women really struggle with that time period. And so I like to help women during this time period as well. And it's a multifaceted issue, like I said, because it's their hormones as well as a weight issue. But unfortunately, as we age, we do start to lose those female hormones, which affects our weight. And it's a time that does need to be addressed. So it's important for women of all ages to have that time period addressed. And if they need to address, like I said, it's an emotional issue, it's a hormonal issue, it's a weight issue. And they struggle with all three of those. And so we can address all three.
Do those hormone changes that happen, as a woman ages, I is that a contributing factor to the weight gain?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep, it most certainly is. Yep.
Okay.
So unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot. If you'll notice, there's a lot of women gain weight after menopause, and they're heavier in their 60s and 70s, and sometimes even in their 80s. And then they tend to lose weight more in their 80s and 90s.
Oh.
So the weight kind of,
Yeah, I have observed that. Mhm.
Yeah. So the weight kind of fluctuates.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to mention or talk about today?
Just that there are medications that can help. And I'm here to help anybody who's interested in getting healthier. And that's really what it's about, is quality of life and being healthy. And health can come at any weight. It's just a matter of getting the help that you need.
Yeah. I'll definitely put your information if anybody wants to contact you
Great.
down in the description. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and just teaching us about all these really important things.
Well, I hope I helped at least one person today.
I'm sure you did. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.